Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Red, White, and Bills here. How's everybody doing tonight? It is November 1st, and it is 6:28 East Standard Time, and that means the trade deadline has ended a couple hours ago. So something I firmly believe in is great teams, Super Bowl teams, playoff contending teams. You have to make a move in the trade deadline to elevate your team to get to where you want to be. And when I say a move, I'm talking about something like what the Vikings did or like what the Dolphins did. You know, even the Bears, they traded for a receiver. Obviously, they're out of the, they're not going to have a chance, but that's the kind of move I'm talking about. The Ravens trading a second round pick and a fifth round pick for the best linebacker in the NFL. That's what I talk about when I mean a move, right? So, it's 3:57, right? When at the time I'm talking to my friend on the phone, I said, man, it's just every year in and year out, we never make a move. And, if you look at all the past teams that have won recently, they've all made a significant move at the deadline. Look at the Rams. They were, 6-4 or 5-3 when they at the trade deadline last year, and they traded for Vaughn and Odell, and then they won them a Super Bowl ring because without them, they wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. And as you could tell by their team this year, that's exactly true. And look at what happened for them. So then it's 3:57, like I said, and I'm like, damn, man, this really pisses me off. And then he goes, oh, dude, the Bills made a trade. I'm like, get the hell out of here. You're just lying. And he said, oh, no, you guys got Hines. And I'm like, the initial reaction, I'm like, really? So what do we give up for him? He's a backup running back. He's, a great receiving back. And he ran behind, a backup behind Jonathan Taylor on one of the top offensive lines over the last few years. Number one last year. Struggling this year, but so what do we give up for him? I said, I would just trade Zach Moss straight up for him. So we traded, not only did we trade Zach Moss, which I'm fine with, in a fifth round pick, we also have to take $6 million of cap hit for a backup running back for the next 2 years when we have no cap to work with. We still have to sign Edmonds, Poyer, Oliver, Gabe Davis next year, and Josh's $41 million contract, his payday next year hits next year. So we're not going to be able to sign everybody, but thank God we got a backup running back for $6 million. So that's what I'm thinking, and everyone's like, dude, it's a good move. Nyheim Hines is a great receiving back. Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's an upgrade from a running back 3, but that's why we drafted James Cook in the second round, to be what you want Nyheim Hines to be. And again, I don't hate Nyheim Hines. I think he's a great player, but what really frustrated me at first was like, this team has a few holes, and running back wasn't the hole that needed to be filled. And, people can say, oh, it's as to the Super Bowl run. I'll say it year in and year out. You only go as far as your offensive line takes you. And, if you don't watch film, and if you don't specifically watch certain players in a breakdown, you'll think, oh, the offensive line's pretty okay. But let me ask you this. If Josh Allen wasn't Josh Allen with his pocket presence and his ability to evade pressure, what does this offensive line look like? Josh Allen you've seen it. He gets out of the most insane pressures that I've ever seen a quarterback do. And somehow, he does it day in and day out, which makes the offensive line look better in the pass blocking. There's some times where the pocket's perfect, of course, but this offensive line is actually ranked bottom tier in the NFL. So, you're going to go into a playoff run with elite defensive lines with a bottom tier offensive line? Did anybody not learn anything from the Bengals last year? Like, you get absolutely dominated by Aaron Donald and Von Miller, you have a terrible offensive line, and you lose. So they go and sign offensive linemen, right? So they learned a lesson. But what do? You know, you trade a 7th round pick for Dean Marlowe, who was on the Bills for a couple of years, knows the system. That's a solid pickup. But is Dean Marlowe gonna help you hoist a Lombardi trophy? Did I miss something? I mean, he didn't. He was on the Lions, one of the worst defenses in the league. Didn't hack it there, and then he went to Atlanta, who also isn't a great defensive team. And now we pick him up because we're desperate because Hyde's out for the year and Poyer. We don't know even what's wrong with Poyer right now. Still haven't heard. And yeah, it's solid for a depth move, but I mean, it's fine. It's fine, I guess. But we could have used something else. Oh, hey, Mr. Podger, how you doing? I agree. Let's just sign another lineman. We need some more depth. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is like, it's great to have Hines, right? But in the sample size we have of him, he ran behind a top elite offensive line. Of course, he's a backup to Taylor, and he'll be a backup to Singletary. And sure, he'll make some catches in the backfield, and he can, he has some good runs. And I'm not mad at the guy, but it's like, if you have no offensive line to run behind, what's the point? I mean, Singletary's proven he can make something out of nothing. You give him, the last 2 games, 17 carries, 15 carries, 60 plus yards. That's all we really need for this offense. So we'll see what they're going to do, because you spent a 2nd-round pick on James Cook to be a receiving threat. And then what are you going to do now? Just not use James Cook at all this year, and then get rid of Singletary next year, and then just throw Cook into the role of, oh, now you got to make some plays now with all that pressure. It's just, again, I don't hate the move. I really don't hate the move with Hines. It's just, it wasn't needed. You understand what I'm trying to say, everyone? It's like, he's a solid back, but people are like, oh, we fleeced him. We gave him away Zach Moss, got that monkey off our back, and then now we just get a little 6th-round pick, got that monkey off our back, and then we fleeced him. No, you got to remember, $6 million every year for 2 years. So we got him for 2 years, but so he's a $6 million cap hit. So you gave away Zach Moss, who was a 3rd-round pick, and I don't think he got a fair chance with the team, but in his chances, he wasn't that great. So I wish him the best in Indianapolis, and I think he'll do good behind that offensive line. So I wish him the best for sure. He's a nice guy, and I had high hopes for him. But now you gave away a 6th-round pick, and let's look at some 6th-round picks. Christian Benford, starter. Teron Johnson, starter. And let's look at a 7th-round pick. Dane Jackson, starter. And you gave both of those picks away for a backup safety who probably won't even play next year if Poyer and Hyde are both back, because you got Hamlin and Jaquan Johnson, and they've been phenomenal. And I don't know. I just don't know. Well, Brett from Go Bills Podcast is just tuning in, so let's bring him on, see what he thinks. Brett, how are you tonight?
Doing good, man. How about you?
Pretty good. So I was just telling everyone watching what my initial reactions were to Dean Marlowe and Nyheim Hines, and basically to wrap it up for you in case you didn't catch it, the Marlowe was okay, but there's a reason why he didn't stick with the Bills, and there's a reason why he got cut from the Lions, and there's a reason why the Falcons gave him up for a 7th-round pick. I'm just upset because you've seen how well we draft in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round.
Right.
Now we don't have a 6th-round pick, possibly a 5th-round pick next year, or a 7th, and I don't see Dean Marlowe having an impact on this team next year, or even maybe this year, that much, because DeMar Hamlin's better than him, and I anticipate Poyer's not going to be out for a significant amount of time. So yeah, I think it's a good depth move, but I mean, when I think of trade deadline, I'm thinking it's going to impact you to new heights. So like, right. You look at the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins got an elite pass rusher and a number 1 running back to go along with Mostert. So now you got Jeff Wilson and Mostert and an elite pass rusher. So they're a playoff contender who elevated themselves to even more of a playoff contender. The Baltimore Ravens, 2nd round and the 5th round for the best linebacker in the NFL. There you go. And then, the Vikings, they basically got Hawkinson for nothing. They gave away a 2nd and a 3rd, but they got 2 fourths coming back and right. Hawkinson. So it's like those moves are taking teams that are contenders and elevating them. So my question, I'm curious to see what your initial thoughts were. And, my question is, do these 2 players make the Bills more of a Super Bowl contender than what we previously thought? And my initial reaction on Hines was, we're giving up Moss, a 6th-round pick, and then taking $6 million a year of cap hit for him. And he's a backup who ran behind one of the best offensive lines in the league. And we have a bottom tier offensive line. I mean, we watch film together. Some people, they don't like when I say, oh, the offensive line isn't that good. Like, oh, you must just read stats. I'm like, no, I watch film. I formulate my own opinions, and what I come up with is they're a bottom tier offensive line, and that's what they're graded as.
Right.
And when you put a decent running back, like I think Zach Moss would be just fine in Indianapolis. I think he's going to have a good offensive line. Jonathan Taylor is going to be with him, and I think he'll be just fine. And I think Hines is a great player, but we did not need a running back, because what's the use of running behind a terrible O-line? Spencer Brown, terrible. Ryan Bates, overpaid for him. He's actually had a good couple weeks, the last couple weeks. Saffold finally had a good game overall. I mean, people can argue that, but look at the PFF grade, compare it to the film if you don't like it, the PFF grade, and you'll see where they found it. So, I mean, even Dawkins took a step back from last year. He was a top 10 tackle the last few years. He's now ranked 24th. So there's almost entire NFL of tackles better than Deion Dawkins. So, I mean, as far as right now, he's still good in the pass blocking, but he's taking hits in the run. And, there's some games in pass blocking where he hasn't been too great. But, I mean, let's hear your initial thoughts on the two moves we made today.
The Dean Marlowe one, I like the move. I think it's good for depth. I really love that we went after a guy that has some experience in the McDermott defense. And I think this move allows us to, not rush Jordan Poyer back. He's had some injuries over the past couple of weeks, especially with the lungs injury. And then now you add in the elbow injury. And you really
sorry, I don't know. I accidentally clicked something. Sorry, man.
No worries, man. But yeah, you can. You don't have to rush Jordan Poyer back anymore. This is a move that allows depth for the Bills, and I think it's mostly going to be a move for special teams. So I think that will really help us as well. And I also think that the Nyheim Hines move is a special teams as well as a move towards not rushing James Cook back. I think the expectations right now that we're putting on James Cook are way too high. So you can allow him to become the third running back on the team. You have Devin Singletary now. You have Nyheim Hines, who are two capable running backs and two pass-catching running backs who can now take over the offense. And you can throw into the mix James Cook. But when Buffalo didn't have a number 2 running back to begin the season, and I thought that Zach Moss was going to be that number 2, he struggled. And now you have a number 2 capable running back. You can finally just give a little bit of some air to James Cook. But I mean, I wasn't expecting, 500, 600 yards from James Cook this year. I thought maybe 300, 400 yards. You can get that. And I mean, he's looked decent, but this is a rookie wall, and we need to have some pass catching running backs coming into the playoffs. And we're at the halfway point in the season. So why not make a move and take a gamble on a running back like Nyheim Hines, who you can use him for the next couple of years. And this also allows Buffalo to not have to go after a big-name running back in free agency. You can now relax on that. Possibly you can sign Devin Singletary if you want to, or you can put Nyheim Hines as your number 1 running back for the next couple of seasons. And I don't like the contract, but I think Buffalo is going to rework that. So I think that's the biggest issue I have with this deal. I like giving up a 5th-round pick for him. I think he's a capable running back in the NFL, and he'll help us, especially on special teams in punt returns as well as kick returns.
Yeah, that's a good point. For the people watching, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Tune in to Go Bills podcast for Brett too. He puts out great content over there. Give him a subscribe too and like his videos. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And yeah, you brought up a good point with the special teams. He is a great return specialist. But the way I'm looking at it, Jake brought up a point like maybe this means Singletary is not going to be back next year. But then if that's the case, now you're just going to snub James Cook the rest of the season because you got Hines in here and he's not going to get many carries. And then next year you're going to be like, okay, we didn't win the Super Bowl again. because we don't have a good offensive line. Now Cook, now you're going to be having to have a huge load on your back, and we expect so much from you. That goes back to my point with I hate how the Buffalo Bills, they don't give the young guys game reps because they're like, oh, next year with a year of practice, they'll be elite talent. You got to give them game reps. So you bring Hines in. You use Motor. You don't want to sign him back for some reason because I can promise you wherever Motor goes, his contract will be less than what Nyheim Hines' contract is right now for $6 million. So you let Singletary go, right? And which would be a shame, but you let him go. Then you bring Cook, and you're like, hey, Cook, they'll probably draft another running back in the second and third round and waste that pick too. But you bring Cook and say, hey, man, we know we didn't give you many chances last year, but now here's your big chance. We need you now. So now he's like, oh, all the pressure. If you're not gonna bring Singletary back, Cook needs to be more involved. And
I do agree with you there.
Thinking about the future, and it's like that's what infuriates me the most. If you really think about it, Zach Moss was a third-round pick, right? So you traded Zach Moss. So look at it in a pick perspective. A third-round pick and a fifth-round pick. And now what did the Ravens trade for Roquan Smith? A second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. So basically, it was the identical trade, but we got a backup and they got a Hall of Fame linebacker.
Right.
So that's why I'm frustrated because it's like the last 3 years, running back, second and third round, right? You could have got a guard, you could have got a tackle, you could have got another receiver, you could have got another defensive tackle in those young rounds. Oh no, there's more in the later rounds. We draft great in the late rounds. Second and third is our kryptonite, but it's just frustrating. Like James Cook was a second round pick, and now he's going to be even less utilized. And again, Hines is great. It's not him that's the problem. It's we don't run an offense where it relies heavily on running back. So like Singletary's proven he can catch the ball. He's our second leading receiver. So now what are we going to do? Oh, to take Devin Singletary off and put Hines on. Now you make all the catches. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with adding Hines into the mix. Are you going to do a lot of empty sets? Are you going to do a lot of double running back sets? Are you going to, what are you guys going to do? Because you got to get him involved. He's worth $6 million. And, he's a playmaker for sure. But I don't know. I just think it wasn't the main need for the Buffalo Bills in the trade deadline.
I think it's a good need, actually. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Josh, especially. Now you have two running backs that can run the ball, and you don't have to worry about Josh throwing the ball 45, 50 times a game. You take some pressure off of Josh. You can also allow him to have a pass catcher over the middle, which we haven't really had a good one this season. If you think back to last year, we had Cole Beasley who could go over the middle, and you kind of feared the middle of the field. But right now we don't have a guy that's really fearful. Dawson Knox is not getting a lot of catches as well. Isaiah McKenzie isn't getting a lot of catches as of the last couple of games. So now you have somebody over the middle that Josh can check the ball down to, and you can worry about yards after the catch with him. So I'm okay with this move. I think it really does help Buffalo a lot. It might not be the smartest move, which I agree with you. But you also have to remember something as well. Buffalo is going to get back Ike Bucker in a couple of weeks with his Achilles injury. So you're going to get him back towards the midpoint in the season. You'll have another depth guard in going into the playoffs. So if you get him involved in the offense a little, he becomes a backup. You allow him to get his feet wet in the NFL because coming off of an Achilles injury, we both know, it's not going to be easy. So if you get him back involved, get him into the game reps and everything, you might have a starting guard at the end of the playoffs. And possibly if Brian Bates struggles like he has been, you can put him in and he can be the starting right guard. So I'm okay with these moves. I'm okay with not giving up, the ship for a guy like Roquan Smith, or who is on a rookie contract right now and is going to probably get extended for around $18 to $19 million a year. So I'm okay with not going after Roquan. I'm okay with not going after too big of free agents and giving up the ship and just taking the small town deals. this is something that I think back to. I'm a huge fan of the Bills, obviously, but I live in Florida, so I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan, and I think of these small town deals type of thing where you don't go after the big name free agents. Buffalo doesn't go after huge name free agents necessarily often, or big name players in the trade deadline. In recent memory, Mario Williams as well as Von Miller were the biggest free agents that we've had. So going after somebody at the trade deadline, I think Buffalo shouldn't go after somebody big. They should go after somebody that can just fit into the scheme that we're running right now. And we don't have to go after anybody like you're saying. We really have a talented offense. We have a talented defense, and we have a talented roster. So I was okay with just staying put if we did. We're 6-1. There's not a move that we really have to make. I know other teams are making big moves, like the Dolphins getting Bradley Chubb, and as well as Jeff Wilson, who I think Buffalo actually wanted to get instead of getting Naheem Hines. I think that was probably the move that they were wanting, but I think that Miami just got involved in the game and stopped Buffalo from doing that decision. So getting Naheem Hines is a great move, in my opinion. It helps special teams as well. We have been struggling with somebody to get the ball past the 20-yard lines in the kick game. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with giving up a little bit for him. I mean, losing Zach Moss sucks. I agree. That's a third-round pick that you invested in. But he's struggled as of late, and you can't really I can't think of any good games that he's really had where I was like, okay, he's going to be the number 2 running back of recent memory. So I'm okay with giving him up, gives him a fresh start, which I'm completely okay with, especially when we decided that we were going to bench him and make him a healthy scratch recently. I'm okay with giving him up. You got somebody in Naheem Hines who's affordable for the next 2.5 years. You can use him in different ways. And like we said, you can use the double running backs right now. And it also allows Aaron Cromer to show off his offensive line schemes that he can run.
I respect that, but let me ask you this about the Rays. How many rings do they got?
0. How many rings?
So
how
yeah,
many
you take
rings do the Bills have?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You take the hometown deal. It doesn't do you any good, but saves you money. And
right.
My only point is like Josh Allen's cap hit is $41 million next year. And it's going to keep getting higher and higher. That's why they say you got to win your Super Bowl in your rookie window, because this is going to be the best Buffalo Bills team they're ever going to have with Josh. And it's not Josh's fault. It's, there's only so much money you can pay people. So, like in the Roquan Smith trade, if the Ravens don't sign him, they get a 3rd-round pick back. So basically, you traded for a 5th-round pick, and then if you don't sign him again, you get a 3rd. So that's a great trade because they could win a Super Bowl this year, and then we don't have to sign him because we won a Super Bowl. We'll sign Lamar instead. Thanks for the ring. Get a 3rd-round pick back. So like that's a great trade. And you brought up Ike Bacher and Trey's coming back too, but a lot of us Bills fans we're just enamored with them coming back. It's like, oh, Trey White's going to come back, but we got to remember this guy's coming off a gruesome injury, and as a corner, having to backpedal and all the twisting and turning of your knees when you're a corner, he's not going to come back and be, all pro Trey White,
right.
Maybe this year. He might not be that till next year. So you're banking on him to be perfect to help the secondary when you're already missing Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer's already iffy with his injuries. So you're hoping that Trey White is going to be all pro this year, as far as the last few games go. And then Ike Bacher wasn't a starting caliber guard when he was healthy, and neither is Ryan Bates. So it's like, that's all I'm saying is like, yeah, we got these guys. They're okay. We're hoping Trey White comes out and plays really well, but we shouldn't put all that pressure on him. I mean,
I agree.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying like everyone I see is expecting, Trey White's going to come back. The secondary is going to be unstoppable. Well, don't put all that pressure on the poor guy. I mean, he could, those injuries really destroy you sometimes. So you got to give him a chance to come back. I'm going to give him, he'll probably be back to normal next year. He might make some impactful plays, but I mean, I said it last year and I said it the year before when I didn't have content, but last year when I started the channel, I said, we'll go as far as the offensive line takes us. And as I said in the beginning before you jumped on, Look what happened to the Bengals. Why did they lose the Super Bowl? Because their offensive line was terrible. Why did we not make the Super Bowl the last couple years? Partly the offensive line, but last year, that 13 seconds crap. But the offensive line was a problem the entire season, and we talked about it every week ad nauseum. And they got great talent, Dawkins, Saffold, Morse. But remember, Morse is a free agent too. So you got to sign Morse, you got to sign Edmonds, you got to sign Ed Oliver, you got to sign Poyer, you got to sign Gabe Davis, all while Josh is taking 50% of your cap. Yeah. So it's just like maybe we should have did a move like that for Roquan Smith, because if we want to win a ring, so we got to get that ring while we can, because Diggs isn't going to be in the league for that much longer, maybe 4 years. Wide receivers don't have a super long shelf life. So who knows nowadays with players, but it's just there's a lot of uncertainty, and I just think we got an amazing Super Bowl roster right now. Why not just go all in like the Rams did last year? Trade maybe you could have traded the Browns for Conklin. You could have got. The Texans were asking for a lot for Laramie Tunsil, but you probably could have just threw a first and Spencer Brown in there for him or something, just to now you got a franchise right tackle, a franchise left tackle, and you got a solid left guard when he's playing on his, when he's playing normal, and then you got Mitch Morse, one of the most underrated centers in the league. But this all makes me worried we're on this year, of course, but there's so many things we got to do next year, and if we don't win it this year, it's gonna be hard. That's all. So it's like I like to move. Hines is good in the special teams. He's a good backup running back, and like Papa Podge said, double running back would be lethal. 2 guys to catch the ball and run the ball out of the backfield. The only thing with me is and I agree with him 100%. But say you don't have Singletary on the field, or you put Hines out there and in the empty set, or it's just obvious that they're going to try to. Some defenses might just be like, oh, make sure I'm watching him 100% because he's new. They're gonna try to get him involved, and then double running back would be that'd be the best thing to do, because you got to try to have a surprise element still. And if you put both of them back there, you have the option. You can option with one of them and pass to the other maybe. But my only thing with it is he's not going to get that many touches, because I think Motor's still the. Do you think he's running back 1 now?
No, I don't think that Hines is the number 1 running back whatsoever. I think the offense, the running back position runs around Devin Singletary. And I think that it's going to be probably 60% of the plays are going to be for Devin Singletary to be involved in the offense. And then I think maybe 20 to 30% are going to go to Nyheim Hines to start his career in Buffalo. And then next season, I think his opportunities will grow, and we'll see that, what happens with Devin Singletary. But I don't think that Devin Singletary is going to command so much in free agency. So, you never know. Buffalo could re-sign him. And then you have a fearsome 3-tier running back position. So, that's something that Buffalo hasn't had in a while. If you think back, the last time I can remember 3 good running backs on Buffalo was Spiller and Marshawn Lynch and Fred Jackson. So if you look at that, I would love to have 3 good running backs on Buffalo, and that's something that we haven't had in a long time. So having Hines, having Cook, and also having Devin Singletary, these are 3 totally different running backs in every single scheme. Devin Singletary is really good at getting positive yards in the run game. He's becoming pretty good at becoming a pass catcher and getting involved in the offense that way. But Hines is known for being the pass catcher now. So you can take a little bit of pressure off of Singletary now. And James Cook is a pass catcher as well. You can involve him into being a slot receiver, maybe moving Isaiah McKenzie around as well. Not only having him at the slot position, but now you can run 4 wide receiver sets and make Hines or even Devin Singletary or even James Cook involved in the other slot positions. So now you have, 4 wide receivers technically on the field. You can get your running backs involved that way and have them run, out routes or slants or something like that and get involved. So I'm okay. I like this move. I think it also allows Buffalo to become more creative.
Yeah, it definitely does. But at the same time, it's like you're thinking about it. We're not going to be that three-headed monster running back group because we got Josh Allen. Like,
Right.
you don't want to take the ball out of his hands. So it's like we definitely, and I've said it since week one. Like, why do we have 4 running, counting Taiwan Jones? He's special teams, but counting Taiwan Jones, we got 4 running backs active and 5 wide receivers. We should not be doing that. And it's like, we're never gonna be like a Derrick Henry, run the ball 32 times with one player, or the Dolphins even relying on the run heavy. We have Josh Allen. We pay him this much money to be the guy that wins us games. So, like, yeah, it'd be nice to run the ball, but like I was fine with what we had with, I mean, again, I think Hines is a great player, and I'm not mad at him or anything like that. I'm just saying our biggest need wasn't getting a running back, and they're fascinated with, oh, we wanted to get J.D. McKissick. Oh, he didn't want to be with us. Okay, now we're going to draft James Cook. Oh, now we want Kareem Hunt. We want Jeff Wilson. We want that. Like, why is that the only people you're talking about is running backs when you hardly feature a running back in your system? And then you mentioned like how you said it would take pressure off Singletary, but he thrives in receiving. So it's like, do I want to take pressure off him? Because he's the second leading receiver on the team right now. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, it just makes me think like we're probably going to let Singletary go, and then they're going to ride with Hines and Cook, which is, Hines he can run the ball, of course, but he's never played behind an offensive line this bad. And, some people say, oh, we got number 1 or 2 scoring offense. The offensive line ain't as bad as you think. But, if you've seen my breakdowns and, yeah, I'm not an NFL player or coach, but the film is the film. And the people that get paid money to grade these guys are grading them poorly. And again, Josh Allen covers up the pass blocking significantly. If we had Matt Ryan a quarterback, how many sacks do you think we give up a game?
To be honest with you,
7.
To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be that much. Here's the thing. We have a quarterback in Josh Allen who holds onto the ball quite a bit. Okay. So I don't really trust the PFF numbers, especially. So I think that some of it is bogus numbers. And I mean, some of the stats, you got to remember, okay, Saffold and Dawkins, as well as Mitch Morris and everybody else, they have to hold onto their guys for about 4 to 5 seconds, possibly even longer, especially if Josh is scrambling around and doing his thing. That's what Josh does. So these numbers are so low because, they have to give up a little bit so that they're not holding their guys and they're not committing penalties. So I think that these numbers are a little bit less, to be honest with you. I think the offensive line has done a pretty good job. I'd like to see more in the running game, especially. I don't think they're getting enough leverage as well, and I don't think that they're pushing the pile enough in the run game. So I want to see more of that going on. But I think that the biggest thing is the pass blocking is so bad because Josh is holding onto the ball so long.
Right, but at the same time, I think you are right about that. But I think PFF accounts for all that anyway. So and they have advanced metrics too. It's like there's a premium where you get all the advanced stuff, and then the free one where it's just like, what's their overall grade. So it does account for that. But I mean, at the same time, it's just like if Josh wasn't the quarterback, you see that he could stiff arm defensive tackles and spin move out of 3 tackles at the same time to get evade pressure. Like that's part of that helps out the offensive line actually because they're not giving up sacks. Right. So again, they're not terrible, but they're definitely a weak link to this team, and they're definitely possibly going to be the reason why we don't get to the Super Bowl or win it. And I'm not saying we don't have a chance to, because we have the roster to win the Super Bowl, but everybody has holes, and by the time that comes around, all the holes will be exposed for every team, especially the playoff teams. And the offensive line. I mean, Ryan Bates, he's had a good last couple of weeks, but I mean, he's not what everyone thought. And I thought everyone was rushing, because they were like, we got to pay him so much money now, and we got to fight with the Bears to match his contract. And it's like he played 4 games last year, and it was his 4th year. He played 4 games. So like, do you really want to spend $6-7 million a year on a guard that hasn't really proven it yet? And then you got Spencer Brown, who's, I'm off of him because for me, offensive lineman is a quick evaluation because when you play in college, offense and defensive line are essentially already NFL ready. Like, you can improve a little bit, but what you see mostly is what you get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for the Lions, Penei Sewell, he was one of the best, linemen in the college, but before he was drafted. He gets drafted. He plays at an elite. He's played at an elite level since he's been drafted. The Lions actually have a top 5 offensive line, and they also score, just as much as we do. They don't have a good defense, but they have a great offensive line because they've been drafting early offensive line. Because, like I said, these guys are basically primed and ready. You could tell really good offensive line talent when you see it in college. There could be some projects like Cole Strange where he was supposed to be like a 7th round pick and the Patriots drafted him in the 1st round. But, I mean, we ignore offensive line entirely almost. And, it's going to be the thing that comes and bites us. So that's why I really wanted to try to do something. Quisenberry's a good backup. He's been playing better than Brown has. But, I mean, your best ability is your availability. Brown's missed time both the last 2 years. And when he's playing, we're a passing team and he can't pass block. So for me, this is why, because then you look at the Dolphins. Yeah, we're a better team, but now they got an elite pass rusher in Bradley Chubb, who's going to be going against Spencer Brown. Then you got Jalen Phillips, who they drafted right before, Greg Rousseau. Then you got Emmanuel Ogbah. So that's just one team. All these other playoff teams are going to have, even the Jets. The Jets got an amazing pass rush. Then you got the Ravens who they have a great defense. Their secondary is finally getting healthy. You add Roquan Smith. You're getting Ojabo back soon off the PUP list, who was supposed to be a 1st round pick. They got in the 5th or the 4th. He's going to be coming back. They have Calais Campbell and Odafe Owe. Like, these playoff defensive lines are going to be extraordinary, just like ours is. But the Chiefs, look at the Chiefs, for example. They got a top 5 offensive line. We have a great defense. They got a top offensive line. We don't. So when people say, like, oh, Mahomes had to play against a better defense than Allen did when they do the head-to-head matchups, but the Chiefs have a top 5 O-line. The Bills have a bottom 10. So it's all you got. It's the context. We need to have a better O-line if we want to go to the promised land, because that's where games are won. You got Josh Allen. He can win. He could keep you in any game, but on a third down and 10, gotta get a 1st down. You got Spencer Brown going against an elite pass rusher. Are you confident in that matchup? I'm just not. So that's why I'm saying, it's nice to have Hines. We're a top offense, so it adds another weapon. I'm very happy that he's at Buffalo Bill. I don't want people to think I hate the guy and I wish he wasn't on the team, because I'm glad he's on the team, but I just wish we addressed offensive line or even a backup receiver. I guess you kind of could say we address backup receiver depth, because he's another receiving back.
Right.
You drafted James Cook to be what Nyheim Hines is. Obviously, he hasn't proven as much as Hines has, but you drafted him because you wanted that. He was supposed to be an elite pass catcher. And, you finally given him some opportunities. He got 5 carries for 35 yards. You had, it wasn't in garbage time either. And he got 1 catch for 41 yards. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it works. I mean, I think, like you said, Hines is going to be a good addition to the team. Where my points are is just like, it wasn't the number one need.
Well, you got to think about this too, guys. And this is not only for you, but for all Bills fans. There's still some free agents out there that we could go after. I mean, there's Odell Beckham Jr., who's been the talk of Von Miller saying that he's coming to Buffalo, and that could be an option as well. And there's, we could go after a offensive line, somebody that gets released, possibly. You never know. I mean, could happen, but maybe there's somebody that gets released. But I'm okay with this team. I really think that the offensive line is coming into their own. I think Saffold's coming into his own, and he's getting used to playing next to Deion Dawkins. That's one big thing. They only have 7 games next to each other, and Saffold didn't even really do anything in training camp. So, and he didn't do anything in the preseason as well. I think that really hurt Buffalo right there, is not having playoff or preseason snaps for the whole starting offensive line. And the only time that they did get snaps was in the third game. So I'm okay with the offensive line depth that we have. I think that it's only going to get better as the season comes along. And I'm okay with not having a good offensive line right now. The best time to have a good offensive line is playoff time. And I think when push comes to shove, I think that they're honestly going to be better when the playoff comes down to it. I mean, you might be mixing guys in, like Spencer Brown might come out, Quinsbury might come in, and that's our starting offensive line right now. You can mix in Ike Butker for base, or you could even move Saffold over to right guard and fix a little bit of an issue there and put Butker on the other side, and then that fills another issue. But it might create more issues as well.
Yeah, so that's a good point because
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, because you got to have the content, and we mentioned it with Nickel City Mafia. Go check them out too. Give them a like and a sub. We do think the offensive line is turning the corner, but like even I don't think this offensive line is a top 10, top 12 at their best. They're probably middle of the pack at their best, but is middle of the pack good enough to win a Super Bowl is where the question lies. And Aaron Cromer's a great coach. Saffold, he's great. He's coming, like you said, his best game, PFF and my eyes, his best game was last week.
Agreed.
And he did great. You know what I mean? But then it's like, I do think, like we talked about it with Nickel City Mafia. I do think they're going to start turning a corner and improving. But again, like I said, so say you're playing a team like the Ravens and you got a guy like Roquan Smith blitzing and you got a Jabo blitzing and you got your defensive line and their pass rush while their secondary is healthy. It's like, that's going to be, a hard team to move the ball on. So,
right. But what's one thing that Hines is good at too?
You said blocking.
He's good at blocking.
I mean, that's good because that's one thing Moss was good at. So I mean,
yeah,
it's good that Hines can block too. And again, I think he's going to help. But I mean, when you think about it, let's go back to the main question of the video. In your honest opinion, does Dean Marlowe and Nyheim Hines elevate us to go above the rest of the Super Bowl contenders to win a Super Bowl? And your first, before you see them play with us, again, as of right now, do you think these two guys prime us better than the rest of the contenders to make it to the Super Bowl?
To be honest with you, I don't think that there's anybody that was out there right now that would have made us any better to go to the Super Bowl. I think the roster right now is as talented as it's going to get. I mean, you could say Saquon Barkley or Alvin Kamara or guys like that, but those guys aren't even available, to be honest with you. They weren't going to get traded. I didn't think they were going to get traded whatsoever. So the guys that were out there, I don't think could elevate us to the Super Bowl, but I do think we have the roster right now to go to the Super Bowl. And I think our time is right now. Over the next couple of years, I think, if it's not this year, I think over the next couple of years, we will have a Super Bowl ring. I really do. So I don't think that it was two guys that made a difference. I think it's all 53 players on this team that can make a difference. So I'm okay with the small moves. And plus, I don't want to give up a bunch of guys for, a Saquon Barkley. You might have to give away a guy like, for instance, you could give away Gabe Davis for him. I mean, somebody of that caliber. I don't want to give away anybody for Saquon. I don't want to give away the whole farm. I don't want to be a Mike Ditka and give away the whole entire, draft for Saquon Barkley or Alvin Kamara, Alvin Kamara is an older running back, but he would fit into Buffalo and fit into the scheme that we would want to run for a pass catching running back and be an elite running back as well. But I'm okay with these small little moves and making these adjustments to just get us a little bit better. And honestly, we have the defense to beat anybody. The best thing is get our pass rush going, get us, up early in games, which Josh will do every single week. I believe it puts us in an advantage because our best thing that we have on defense is our pass blocking or pass defense. I think our run defense struggles a little bit, but I think we're going to figure it out. I honestly think that it was part of the Leslie Frazier scheme of allowing the Green Bay Packers to have the ball more, run the clock out, and that's the way that they're going to go about it. So I'm okay with that, but I don't think these guys necessarily make us better. I think we're a great team, and I think the only team that can really stop us in the AFC is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. And in the NFC, I think the only two teams that can stop us are going to be the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. So if we get that far, I do think we have a more talented team than the Cincinnati Bengals if we play them in the AFC Championship game. And then if we go to the Super Bowl, I think Philadelphia is going to be tough, and I think Minnesota is going to be tough. But, hey, we got Minnesota coming up in a week after the Jets game. So we're going to see what they have. And then we go play Philadelphia. So if we play Philadelphia in the Super Bowl, I'm perfectly okay with that, okay? If we get to the Super Bowl with Philadelphia, I honestly think that the time right now for the Philadelphia Eagles is just a little bit too soon. I don't think they played elite talent like Buffalo has all season. You know, I think we're going to be fine. I think we're going to – I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say anything bad, but I think we will contend in the game. But I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to jinx it. There's been 4 Super Bowls that have been jinxed. I'm not going to do it today.
I hear you. Hold on here. We got Jeff King, man. This is like an honor. I've seen Jeff King go on all the big time guys and comment. Jeff, I appreciate you even thinking about tuning in here. That's really awesome. He says, B knows what he has and what we need. We all need to remember work with limited funds here. And 100%. That's why, like, you know, I'm thinking about it here. It's like, I don't really think we're going to get Odell Beckham because he wants a big tag. So we have so many people to sign, Jeff. You know, you already know. It's like you got to sign Mitch Morse. You got to sign Tremaine Edmonds, Jordan Poyer. Gabe Davis is up for a contract extension next year. You know, so even Singletary, he's probably out the door now because Hines is, you know, $6 million a year unless they reconstruct it. But that's a great point. I mean, I trust Bean. I really do. And he's turned the franchise around. But I'm just the guy that firmly believes you got to make somewhat of a splash move. And I just think, you know, Hines is he's a perfect fit for the scheme. But, you know, the offensive line is just, it's always the thing. You know, I'm a big O-line guy. Everyone knows that for me. But Spencer Brown and Ryan Bates, I'm just not sold on them. But Jeff, man, I really appreciate you tuning in. And, you know, I really appreciate, you know, maybe one time you want to come on here. I do live call-in shows sometime, but thanks for tuning in. And it'd be nice to see you down here again. But I appreciate what you're saying, Brett, because, like, you know, we do have a great roster. We have a Super Bowl caliber roster, and there's no disputing that. But, you know, going back to Jeff's point, we have limited funds. Right. So it's like our window is even shorter, not because of the talent, but because of the amount of money we have to spend on people. Like, we might be making some hard decisions this coming off season with some big time guys that we're going to have to replace. But now we lost draft capital, you know, to bring, you know, Dean Marlowe. I think he's just going to be, you know, somewhat of a backup for us, but, you know, it's a great depth move. But Jeff King, keep up the great work, guys, and keep plugging at this. You're both personable and knowledgeable. Jeff, man, that means the world to us. We really appreciate that.
Love that comment. Yeah, but the biggest thing for me is, you know, if you look at what Buffalo did today, I'm okay with it because you have to think ahead too. The running backs that are going to be available in the free agency next year are insane. I mean, if you look at the list, I'm just going to read off of some of the guys. Saquon Barkley. You got Jamal Williams, who's coming off of a great year. You have Josh Jacobs. You have Raheem Mostert. I mean, these guys there's some pretty good running backs. Miles Sanders is going to be a free agent.
Yeah, there's a ton, man.
There's a ton of guys. Jeff Wilson's a free agent. So David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Damian Harris. I mean, there's a lot of talented running backs. You got Tony Pollard as well. So I'm okay with not giving up the farm and possibly, you know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can get one of these guys. Maybe we can get Saquon next year.
Well, that's going to be, you know, you don't want to give up the farm, but we definitely don't have the funds to bring Saquon in. And, like I said, I didn't want to give up a lot of draft picks for a running back because I didn't think the running back was the main need. So,
Right.
I mean, the Hines, the trade at face value was fine with me. It was like, Zach Moss and a 5th round pick. That's fine. But then the contract's with you as well. And then because of
That'll
how
be restructured.
because of how efficient we are in the late rounds drafting, that's where Bean makes his money. I mean, of course,
Right.
it was Josh. Of course, Josh was like his first big move, but as far as drafting goes, they're very efficient in the late rounds, and they struggle in the second and third. So, I don't know. It's just I was really hoping to possibly get, maybe a starting caliber guard like Norwell. I think he's on Washington now. The Jags traded him, but even Tunsil had a big price tag, but you probably could have worked something out with that. I mean, as far as not giving up, they wanted 2 first-round picks, but
right.
maybe not. Maybe they want, if you give them someone like with the potential, Browns got potential and a first-round pick, maybe they would have done it because, Roquan Smith was the 2nd and the 5th. So, it's just the offensive line was my main concern just because we don't really have a lot of depth there. And Ike Bakker's coming back, but, that's another big injury, and big guys with big injuries, it's even harder. You know what I mean? And, you having the pressure of a 350-pound man while you're planting and anchoring into the ground. And, we're hoping he comes back healthy and fine. And, I like Hines. I really do. I think we'll have some nice packages with him, and Devin Singletary, and even I'll have all 3 of them out there sometime maybe. But, I got to get my computer charger. So if you want to talk about Hines a little bit more, just give me like 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm just going to say one quick thing. I mean, you can also run some 3 running back sets. This is something that we haven't really thought of is you could run, a wildcat situation where you have 2 running backs coming in or 3 running backs coming in and put all 3 together, and you could run these different schemes in the Ken Dorsey offense. There's all different things that you can do with these running backs, and you have 3 really good running backs. And I think it makes the running back room even better having these guys involved now. I think we had 1 good running back, we had 1 okay running back, and then we had a running back that was struggling and just wasn't a fit to what we needed. He was a bigger running back and a goal line running back, and somebody we just weren't going to use. So now you have 3 running backs that can be utilized in all different aspects. You can run different schemes in the Ken Dorsey offense. And like we said, you run the Wildcat, which is something that we haven't really seen a lot of lately in the NFL. You can take Josh out of the game for a play or 2, which I'm okay with doing that. As long as it gets us positive yards. I'm just saying, man, you can run all different schemes. It's a dream to do that and everything.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, having Josh Allen in the game, I'm perfectly fine with. But doing different things and things that nobody has thought of is going to win us the Super Bowl. That's the only way we do it. I mean, if you look back, the Philly special, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, that was something.
One thing that we can agree on is the only Super Bowl of recent memory that somebody saw it coming was instead of running the ball with Marshawn Lynch, passing the ball when Russell Wilson did. They saw that coming. Okay, come on. You can agree on that.
2 rings, man. But
yeah, but I mean, you got to do something. You got to do something to create, the big spark. And I think creating a big spark with different wildcat options and different ideas that you can run with all these different running backs is going to be the key. And you can put Hines on the outside and allow him to be a outside wide receiver and throw the ball to him as well. So you can move him all around the offense and have Devin Singletary behind him. And it just is going to create more matchup nightmares for defenses because you got Stephon Diggs. He's got
the speed, man. So
yeah, got all the. This is something that is talked about. You got speed, and now we created that speed, and I think it's great.
Nickel City Mafia, thanks for tuning in, Mike. And for those viewing, Nickel City Mafia puts out some great content as well as Go Bills podcast. So subscribe to the channels, like the videos, and we really appreciate everybody tuning in to all the videos we put out. He said, I just hope Hines doesn't hold back the development of James Cook. And that's a great point. And, I'm huge on that. You got to put out, your early draft picks to get them game reps so they can improve. Because, for those of us, that either played even any sport, football, baseball, game reps is what really elevates you. Practice is practice, but you got to get out in the field. So James Cook hasn't had that many swings at it this year. And, we thought, okay, Moss, he's probably, Chris called it, didn't he, Mike? Moss is maybe trade bait. And, he got benched and he didn't even play on Sunday. And, Cook got some reps. He got a catch for 41 yards and he ran a 5 for 35, 7 yards a pop. So, small sample size, but it was nice to see him finally getting momentum and maybe some confidence. So now I'm interested to see what they do with Cook now that Hines is here. That's a good point, Mike, because I don't want to waste a second round pick. Like if, Cook's got potential. He's not as big as his brother, but he's fast. He's got hands and, he said, yeah. So yeah, I'm going to be really interested, but like you said, you could do a lot with Hines. And again, I never disputed, I don't want people to think I was so angry at him and think it's a bad trade. I just think we needed other things. So I hope people can understand it. I think I'm not being a hater or a fair weather fan, but I'm interested to see because Cook could be valuable to this team because then you got 3 guys that you could do anything you want with those 3. They all can catch the ball. They all can run the ball. And I think Hines and Singletary are similar as far as their running style goes. Hines is just a slight bit faster. So on runs where Singletary gets caught after he runs for like 20 or 30 yards, Hines can usually outrun people. So, that's a great – we never really been a speedy, in the backfield under Josh Allen, besides Shady, but he was near the end of his career. Right. And, I'm excited. I'm excited for sure, but still a little bit just disappointed that Bean didn't say, you know what, this is the best Buffalo Bills team we're going to have for a while. Let's solidify the guard or the right tackle position. And I know Josh can evade pressure, but sorry, Mike said a question. It's a fair question that you asked, Sean. I appreciate it, Mike. And again, I don't want people to think I'm hating on him. He's a Buffalo Bill. I love him just like the rest of the Buffalo Bills, and he'll definitely impact this team. And to answer the question, do these people make this Dean Marlowe and Nyheim Hines elevate us to the Super Bowl caliber? And like Brett said, he said it kind of perfectly. We're already a Super Bowl team, but for me, Dean Marlowe, if Hyde and Poyer were both healthy, I don't think we would have made this move. So it's definitely a good depth move, and that's what we needed in some positions. But I was looking for a splash. I was looking for that splash move, but Hines, he'll definitely contribute to the team. In the capacity, we don't know yet because we got to see what we're doing with James Cook too. So I don't think it makes us leaps and bounds better. We're gonna have to see it come to fruition as give it 2 to 3 weeks. See how he gels with the team and what kind of packages that Ken Dorsey thinks up and puts out. And heck, it could be the best trade ever. You know what I mean? Like it seems like it seems like it's not an amazing trade because we have other holes, but this could be the best move the Buffalo Bills could have made in the trade deadline because, like you said, he's a dynamic player. We might even get a kick return touchdown. Who knows? Because McKenzie's shown flashes of return abilities, but at the same time, he just hasn't been terrible and returning kicks lately. Can you recap complete deal with both trades? Yeah. So for Dean Marlowe, we traded a 7th round pick to Atlanta, and Hines is a 6th. Zach Moss and his $6 million a year cap hit for 2 years. And the 6th round pick could turn into a 5th. So obviously that's probably contingent on the amount of reps he gets throughout the season and, what he produces. And then, like I said, I haven't had a chance to read up on it. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And, like I said, with the Dean Marlowe trade, we draft exceptionally well in the late round. So I don't know. I don't know how much he's going to contribute to the team. That makes me think maybe Jordan Poyer is out longer than we anticipated, but I hope not. But we're coming in on the hour mark, Brett. So final thoughts. Want to plug your channel like always and wrap up with your final thoughts on the trades. And, we're going to be looking forward to Jets week this week. So Let's talk about it.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I like these trades. I think that there's a lot of good trades that happen around the NFL, but I think that these moves are mostly special teams as well as fixing some minor issues in the offense. And I really do think that these moves give Buffalo the right pieces to the running back position so that you have 3 guys that you can now rely on getting the hot hand with. Before, we only had 2 guys that we could really rely on, and you just didn't have that big spark, like you said, Sean. And I think you finally now have that guy that you can use and have some lightning speed with. And I think it's going to create some more long touchdowns for Hines. I think it also gives Devin Singletary a little bit of a mix in because he's not the fastest guy in the world. He runs a 4.6. Not the fastest guy in the world, but Singletary can get you, the 5 yards per carry that you need. But he also can get you that spark where he can juke some guys out. So it's going to give you a good running back system. I think it's going to be more of the running back system like you see with the San Francisco 49ers over the past couple of years, where they had, so many good running backs there. And it gives us a good scheme. They had Burita, they had Mostert, they had a couple other guys as well. So I think this is a great move for Buffalo to get a good running back that has speed and can make some big plays in this offense. And I think that it's a good depth position for Dean Marlowe, and it helps the special teams because now we're going to be without Jordan Poyer on special teams. And now you can rely on Dean Marlowe coming in special teams and making some plays. So, but again, like we said, the contract is going to be high. It's, something that I think that Bean's going to rework, and it's something that he should rework very soon. If it's not with Hines, it's going to be with somebody else, and they're going to probably restructure with a big contract, such as maybe moving around some money in Von Miller's contract so that we can get some more guys as well. Maybe we go after Odell. Maybe that's an option, but I don't know. But I'd love to see it. I don't think it's realistic, but we could see another big move from Buffalo coming up shortly. I think this might be a start in a big move. But you also remember we got Tre'Davious White back. We got Xavier Rhodes coming back too. So that helps the secondary of Buffalo as well. And I think it's a good start for Buffalo.
Love it. Let them know where they can find you.
Yes, sir. You can find us on the Go Bills podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook as well. And we're doing shows each and every week. We do them with Sean. We do them with Nickel City Mafia. We're doing shows this Friday coming up at 7:30 on YouTube and Instagram. And I'd love to have you guys back on, Nickel City Mafia, as well as Red, White, and Bills. Come on.
Of course.
It'd be a great show. But I can't wait for the Jets week. We got some good content coming out, and it's going to be fantastic. And I got to thank Sean for having me on. I appreciate you giving me all the inspiration that you do, as well as Nickel City Mafia for all the work that I do. And you guys inspire me, and you're great Bills fans, and it's great to have a group chat with you guys each and every week.
Absolutely. It's what it's all about. Can't wait. Exactly. Jets week. Can't wait for that either. Yeah. Like and share. Subscribe to the channels. We appreciate it. Help us grow so we can do even better for you guys. This is what it's all about. Working with other Bills fans and fans of other teams. Oh, stop. You guys are the best. You guys keep me going. But like I said, like and share, subscribe to the channels, and weekly picks. My weekly pick segment is probably going to be out tomorrow or Wednesday or possibly Thursday. Just got to hook up with Nando to see what his availability is. And then pregame for Jets. And then, got a lot going on for you. So also 6-1 for the first time since 1993. And I think if I was correct in my research, it'll be the first time we're 7-1 if we win next week or this coming week since 1974. Hate Miami getting Chubb. Yeah, Jeff. I mean, I said the same thing. I was working. I saw that. I was like, damn. Like, they got an elite pass rusher. And, we got Spencer Brown, who can't stay healthy. But, I mean, they got Tua. So let's see if he can lead them. He's 0-2 in those must-win games. So we'll see how Miami turns out. But when they come to Buffalo, they're going to get the stampede ran on them, and we're going to be just fine. But, again, Jeff, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you coming in. Hopefully you'll see you again soon. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Till next time, go Bills.
Go Bills.